All right, I think we're live, Scott. Let's kick off episode 10 properly here with a little
what
jingle.
Everybody's here for.
Yeah.
Your website could be better, let's make it right. Together with Bytes.
For anyone wondering why we're wasting money on jingles during this time of bite tightening, we got that made on Fiverr for $11. So yeah, here we are, episode 10. Looks like my video quality is kind of garbage today. If there's anything I can do to cut that down, but yeah, we're here, episode 10, and today we're talking about Google Analytics Advanced. So back with Scott, our senior digital marketing strategist, team lead. And so yesterday we talked about kind of basic setup of Google Analytics, how to just get it embedded on your website, getting Google Search Console set up. And so you can do that pretty quickly and start collecting data. And then today we're going to talk about kind of the next steps, which I would somewhat classify as how to set up Google Analytics to kind of track, kind of more real world business goals that you might have in your organization. So just to start, let's talk from a top level, Scott, about I'll name off a business type, and you can give some suggestions on what that business type might want to be tracking with advanced Google Analytics. So
yeah, for sure.
So let's start with a restaurant. What would a restaurant track in Google Analytics?
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to stump me on this because we've worked with, I think, pretty much every kind of business. So
sure.
For restaurants, I would say one of the most obvious ones, which is a little bit more advanced on the tracking side of piece, is probably phone calls. How many people are dialing into the numbers on your website? What are those calls leading to? That's a pretty basic one that I think most restaurants would, want to track. We use a call tracking system here called CallRail. That works works great. It does get a little pricey as you scale up. It's definitely meant a little bit more for agencies. But there are other ways that we can kind of get into on how to track calls, whether that be, clicks on the telephone link on your website is a great way to do that. Other things for restaurants, maybe a PDF download of a menu. We could easily track how many people are downloading a PDF. If there's an online reservations feature, we could track submissions. Most times we could track submissions within reservation features. We've worked with restaurants who use Resi, I think it's called. And we could track submissions of the reserve a table button. We could track page views for hours. We could also track clicks on direction buttons to get open directions in Google Maps. I'd say those are some of the kind of main ones for a restaurant that we probably could set up pretty easily.
How about for an e-commerce site that has a physical location and a online store?
Yeah, so one of our kind of longest running clients at Bytes for e-commerce that kind of fits that mold is Ski Rack in Burlington. Shout out Ski Rack. They have obviously a pretty awesome location downtown where they do rentals and obviously sell gear out of their store. They also have a pretty massive website that we do some work on, skirack.com. And for them, we actually track e-commerce purchases, transactions, and revenue through enhanced e-commerce tracking in Google Analytics. It's a pretty awesome feature that Google Analytics has built into analytics that you can enable pretty easily so that Google Analytics has the ability to track and see purchases that are coming in so you can see the amount of transactions you're getting, the revenue on each transaction, the average order volume, and whether you're on Magento, WordPress, or Shopify, it's pretty easy, a little bit easier on Shopify, a little bit harder on the Magento side of things, but pretty easy to track transactions. And then for Ski Rack as well, we track form submissions because they sell bikes, but you actually have to pick up the bike in store, so they don't do shipping on bikes. So we track form submissions of their bike purchase form. We track form submissions of their rental form. We track phone calls of their rental phone number. So it's easy to track transactions, but if there's a brick and mortar location, there might be some other conversion points on a website that are important to track to, measure how many people are being driven into the store.
What if you were a nonprofit organization that did classes and programs and just built a new location? What would you track there?
Yeah, that's probably one of the more, I would say, the lead businesses that are more focused on leads are probably the easiest ones to track, because it doesn't really require too much work in Tag Manager or with e-commerce tracking. But for that, we could track form submissions again. If they have classes for, yoga or swimming or anything like that, we could track different forms, maybe camp registrations. We could track forms for a camp registration. We could track a form for swimming lessons in Google Analytics. And then we could either, roll those into one metric for form submissions, or break those out as form submission swimming, form submission, camping. And for them, we could also track, in theory, we've done it a couple times, visits to the location. That's a little bit even more technical than I think what we'll talk about today, but you do have the ability to track actual visits to your location using a Google beacon, which you can pair with Google Analytics and Google AdWords as well.
Yeah, we got time. Let's talk about Google beacons. Those things are cool. So you can get these little low energy Bluetooth devices that, and correct me if I'm wrong here. It's been a while since I set one up, Scott, but basically you might just receive one from Google, or you can order them from various companies. You attach that Google beacon to your physical location in Google My Business and in Google Ads. And then what we are able to do is, if someone looks up Ski Rack or YMCA Burlington on Google, gets directions, and then comes into the store, that phone will communicate with that Google beacon to let us know that someone actually came into the location. So that's always been kind of the holy grail of syncing up online and offline advertising, is how you close the advertising loop and be able to track store visits, because traditionally that's been really difficult. So
I think that's pretty much the basis of it. It's a pretty awesome feature that I still think, people are still getting started with Google beacons. It's still kind of a new idea in the digital marketing space, even though it's been around for a few years now. But it's definitely kind of an endless, just another level of data that you can gather, because let's say you're a gym, downtown Burlington, you can add, individual visits of individual users as a metric to your kind of online reporting. So, you can track how many people signed up for your new, your new entry form online, how many people have called you, and then you can also pair that with how many actual unique people are walking through the door at your gym in a month or a quarter or a year as well.
So yeah, I'm gonna back this out, and I'm gonna pretend for a second I'm like doing the sales pitch to one of these businesses and trying to convince them to sign up for a new website and let us handle the digital marketing. So, using Ski Rack as an example, they obviously have some different profit centers. They've got the rental side of the business. They've got, bikes and skis, kind of the big purchases, I would say, that people make, purchases that are over $1,000. Yep. And then they've got a lot of like soft goods, kind of like day-to-day gloves, hats, goggles, jackets, snow pants, kids' clothes, T-shirts, hats, right? So, so what you want to do is, for them, we have them think about their different profit centers individually, and then think about what each one of these profit centers, what transactions are worth. And so let's take a pair of skis being sold, and I'm going to use $1,000 as a good round even price I can do quick napkin math with. So let's say a pair of skis on average costs $1,000. And let's say that Ski Rack's profit margin on that is, 50%. So Ski Rack has to pay $500 to sell that $1,000 pair of skis. And then what Ski Rack needs to think about is how much of that $500 of profit margin can they allocate towards acquiring a new customer. So let's say they're comfortable with spending $100 to acquire that new customer, leaving them with $400 in profit on that transaction. Basically, that's kind of what we're trying to get at, is we can then set up the goal in, with e-commerce particularly, and then we could also potentially integrate their point of sale system with Google Analytics, or create a lead form for in-store sales. And then what we would want to do is be able to prove to them that, hey, we just spent, we're spending $5 a click for the keyword Rosignol backcountry package. And out of, 20 people that visit the website, we're paying $5 a click. So that means it's $100. Hopefully one of those 20 people buys the skis and converts.
Yep.
And so, and they might say, guys, we could spend up to $250 of our $500 profit margin. So we're willing to spend 25% of that total transaction to acquire a new customer. They might say, let's even acquire the customer for, $400 because we want to get them in the door to buy the skis, and we're comfortable with losing money on the ski sales because we can really make up profit margin on tuning and on the soft goods. We know every time someone comes in to buy skis and bindings, that, they're going to be a customer that are going to come in to do other stuff over the lifetime. So we're not going to make as much money on the sales. We want to focus more on servicing that lifetime of the customer. So if we can track the actual transactions and the actual, dollars being spent on the online store as a result of our efforts, we can really start to pull a lot of levers and help increase profitability.
Yep.
And I'm just making these numbers up. This is not at all Ski Rack's actual data. That's kind of Scott's job, but we keep that proprietary. So with a gym would be a different type of model. So the YMCA, they show up and they want a website, and they've got a beautiful new building. Want to sell as many gym memberships as they can to fill it up and get the cash flow coming in. So with them, let's say the average gym membership is $60. I'll call it $100 monthly, again, just so I can do the math. $100 a month for a gym membership. Someone with a recurring subscription like that might say to us, we're willing to break even on the first month or on the first 2 months, because we know that once a customer signs up with us, they're going to work with us. They're on average, people keep their gym memberships for 2 years. So we're totally comfortable with paying to acquire a customer, losing money or breaking even those first 2 months, and then making our profit in the third months and beyond, where we have created this great experience and we have a customer that we no longer need to pay for advertising with. It could even be as well that they want to spend, the first month, the $100 to acquire the customer and to get them to sign up. We might be lost here, Scott. Might keep going anyway. Get them to sign up, and then they might say, okay, so let's break even to get them to sign up, and then let's put them into a different audience for existing customers that we can, charge $5 on average to keep them engaged so that they don't disappear on us.
Great.
All right, we're back online. We're good.
Never a dull minute with Facebook Live.
We're running this all off an old laptop from the office that we snuck in and scooped out under the quarantine police. So today, our lovely producer, I guess Abby is the producer of this. Abby is holding the power cord in, I think, manually. So if we cut out, sorry. Doing this on a budget. Can't afford new computers right now. So So anyway, what we want to do is we really want clients to take a really thoughtful look beyond just how their website looks, and to really spend time thinking about how the website will help them meet their business goals. And in order to know that, we need to know some basic math, some accounting around the products and services they sell, what the profit margin is, what the lifetime value of customers are, and then we can basically work backwards into the different advertising channels to be able to see what we're getting for a return on investment. And this is also important because you don't want to advertise yourself into a hole. You want to make sure that you're not spending $100 to advertise a pair of Carhartt pants when you're only selling them for $60. And now all you're doing is hemorrhaging money online to basically just dig yourself a hole. So we're already setting up numbers, and each business, the numbers are wildly different. I mean, we have clients that, they might work in a very specific vertical niche industry where there's only 100 people in the country that are even going to potentially be customers. And the average transaction that they have, they might close 4 deals a year, but those deals are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so, we always need to know what the logic is around the business so that we can set up kind of these advanced reporting and metrics in Google Analytics.
Yeah, and it's not only obviously important if you are like the proprietary, the only person running your website or running your business, but a lot of the time we work with clients who have somebody else they have to report to. So it's a chain of reporting almost, where we report to our contact, they'll report to their boss, who reports to their boss. So having numbers, having correct goal tracking not only helps us keep advertising or website work or SEO work going, but can make the life of our contact at a company easier because it's more transparent in more than anything they've ever had prior to working with us or another agency.
Yeah, and I mean, also this is one of the big differentiators between print media or radio or television, kind of traditional advertising. Is there's certainly a place for them. I don't want to say don't support your local newspaper, and certainly now more than ever, you should probably support your local newspaper. But one of the big differences is when you put up an ad in one of these traditional mediums, these traditional advertising channels, you kind of got to run the ad and hope it works and wait for the phone to ring. And about the only way you can track it is if your employees are really diligent about asking where someone heard about you, and then you're recording that somewhere, and your customers are actually being honest with you and they're giving you good data. So it's easy to spend $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 on traditional advertising, and you're kind of sitting there hoping that at the end of the 2-month run that you can see a noticeable uptick in sales that you can hopefully attribute to the advertising. And in the back of your mind you might be thinking, hey, this could just be because it was sunny, or this could just be because we were doing this other thing as well. We hired cousin Marv to stand out on the sidewalk spinning a sign all day, right? So with what we're doing, we track every dollar spent, and we want to also track every dollar made on the other end. So the idea is if you're doing advertising across Instagram, Facebook, Google ads, Google shopping ads, remarketing, SEO, we want to be able to track all the inputs into each one of those channels and help you figure out what you're gaining for economic outputs in each one of those areas so that you can reallocate your budgets in a way that's data driven and can really maximize the ROI of your advertising spend.
Yeah, and Google Analytics makes that very easy as well, obviously with the ability to track goals and set up goals. So I had some reports up here in ways to kind of track Google Analytics goals that I can kind of run through here just to show you guys. TV. I know, getting some background noise. I have some reports up and goals up some examples that I can kind of run through here to kind of give you guys.
Present them. Let's see them.
Yeah. So I could kind of show you in the last 10 minutes here kind of what Bytes has set up for our goals. A couple examples here. So we're tracking form submissions, of the different forms on each page, phone calls, quote request forms, chats from our chat feature, Chatlio. So a lot of our goal tracking is a little bit more next level, I would say. We're not using just kind of one easy way to set up a goal. We're using Tag Manager or integrating with Chatlio or integrating with Pipedrive, which is our CRM platform. But one of the easiest ways that we can create a goal, that really anybody can create a goal, especially if you're a lead-based business where you have a contact form or a quote request form, is just by using a destination URL. And to do so, we come into Google Analytics backend here. We go to admin, goals, and then it'll kind of bring up the goal setup. So these are a number of kind of pre-set up templates that Google Analytics has that you can definitely use here. Most of the time, we'll kind of go with the custom feature here. And basically, I would say one of the easiest goals that you can set up in Google Analytics here is using a destination URL. So what that does is basically...
Can you this up a little bit, Scott?
Yeah. Yep.
Get up to like 120 or something so we can see it.
Yep. Is
There
that
we go.
working?
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Too much there. Okay. So under the goals section here, we can basically set up a destination URL. So if we were to name this test, for instance, and we select destination, what you can do is basically take a URL on your web page and set that as a goal. So if somebody, for instance, we wanted to set a goal for a visit to the digital marketing page, we could do that by putting a, begins with digital marketing here. And you don't need to include the Bytes.co before the page name, because that obviously is on every page on the website. But where this is super useful is a lot of the online platforms, Squarespace, that built-in forms, Weebly's built-in forms, obviously Gravity Forms with WordPress, Shopify, they all have the ability to redirect a user to a confirmation page when they submit a form. So what we can do is here is like have, say we have our digital marketing form on digital marketing contact, and then we want to direct them to a thank you page once they submit it. So that could be our URL for our thank you page. And if we say, the destination begins with or equals to digital marketing /contact/thank you, every hit on that page we can register as a goal. So that way we know how many form submissions of the digital marketing contact or quote request form we're getting. So that's probably the most basic way of tracking a goal in Google Analytics. I would say, if you have forms on your website that you're not doing this for, definitely look into Google Analytics support, or just rewatch this segment of the video, because I just kind of did it here, and it really is that easy. And make sure that you're gathering that data. This allows you to get all of that great data on hour of day where users are submitting forms, what page they're submitting forms on, from what city, state, device, which age ranges. And that's all information that you can just take and, use in your marketing and advertising strategies down the road.
And if you do this type of destination goal, just make sure your thank you page is ideally hidden from robots and is not available in your navigation. So so try to no index it and lock it down as much as you can. Like sometimes you can do like unpublished pages that still are able to be visited. So just try to prevent people from accidentally stumbling upon your thank you form and muddying up your data.
Yeah, good point for sure. So that's kind of the easiest ones. We have some of those on our site for some of our thank you pages. Taking it kind
of Scott, one more second on this though. Is that what the funnel is for here? Is that where you would say like you turned on the funnel, you could, if you can't hide something, you would say contact is the first page, and then thank you's the final one?
Yeah, so this would basically, if you put steps in here, they would have to follow the step.
Okay.
So for instance, on this one, to submit the digital marketing contact form, you have to be on digital marketing /contact.
Yep.
So we can say, step 1 or something in here. And then we can put that first chunk of the URL, and that would basically block anyway. If somebody navigates to the thank you page without going to digital marketing /contact as a step prior,
Yep.
That would kind of exclude them from goal tracking in here.
Huh, cool. All right, learned something today.
And you can also add a value in here as well. Say your average lead for a digital marketing contact results in, let's say, like $250 a month, for instance. We could put that in here for $250. And if you're not doing e-commerce, if you don't have a way to track revenue or value of goals, I would say go ahead and use this, because it's a great way to kind of, try and set up some value for your goals and set up another kind of metric that you can report on. If you are doing e-commerce, this could kind of muddy your value data a little bit, but it's a great way to kind of, add just another metric category for kind of your average value of leads into Google Analytics as well. So that's one of the more basic goals that we can do here. As we were kind of mentioning before, we have a number of goals. One that I kind of wanted to show everybody here was our click email goal. So basically what we're tracking here are clicks on back on our website. My internet wants to load here. On one of our email addresses. So I'm sure we have that somewhere on our contact page, maybe.
Probably go to our team page.
And this could be a little bit more applicable, obviously, if your email address is a little more prominent. But a lot of the time on websites, we manage lead websites. There's a contact form, but throughout the website, there's also an email block. So that when you click on the email link, it'll open up, in your email platform and send off. You can type out an email. So we're tracking that. I'm not exactly sure where we have that on the website right now. But we're tracking that through Google Tag Manager. And Google Tag Manager kind of takes things another step here. But basically what we're doing in Google Tag Manager, and we could even do a whole Bytes with Bytes on basics of Google Tag Manager as well. It could be a good one. But basically what we're doing here is that, if you've built your website properly and you have mail to links on all your email addresses, so that when somebody clicks on it, it'll open up an email form. What you can do is basically register a click on any HTML that contains mail to as a click on an email address. So we're basically have that set up in Tag Manager saying if a click URL contains mail to, send that back to Google Analytics as the goal, as an event for category click, action, email. And then we're using that event to register a goal so that we can track clicks on email addresses. You can also do the same thing with telephone links. If you've linked out your telephone numbers to be click to call, all of those will feature a colon within the HTML or the Ahref link in the backend language of your site, which is another great, obviously, goal to have, and probably takes even if you have to struggle through Google Tag Manager, probably takes at most a half an hour to set up, I would say.
Cool.
And a lot of what building out these data points allows you to do, kind of wanted to show some custom reports here. And this is another feature of Google Analytics that's a little more advanced. We could come into the custom reports section here, and we have the ability to, build out any metrics that are available to us in Google Analytics and combine our metrics. So the hour of day report, for instance, this is one I built out in Google Analytics, just looking at our key metrics here for sessions, users, goal completions, and we're using the hour dimension here as our drill down. So basically what this allows us to do is create a custom report that, isn't otherwise available in these default reports in Google Analytics, where we can see how our site traffic and goals kind of fluctuate throughout the day. So over the last 3 months here, you can see, for whatever reason, we get a pretty solid amount of traffic around 12 o'clock a.m. Not sure if that could be some traffic, maybe bot traffic from, outside the United States. But for the most part, it looks like a lot of our traffic, during the day peaks around lunchtime, which kind of makes sense. We are a B2B business, so we're offering our services to other businesses. So most of the time, marketing managers, people who are making the decision for new websites for marketing services will probably be searching throughout the workday. And that's kind of what we can see here as well. We can look at our goal conversion rate here as well. So all the goal conversions we have set up on the website, we can see that our goal conversion rate spikes right around lunchtime. So again, kind of right in the middle of the workday, you can kind of see a spike from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that's really where we should focus most of our Facebook Lives right around 12. That's great. I'm sure that's a spike exactly from Bytes with Bytes here. But we would want to focus our Google advertising between the hours of probably 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. here, because that's where we're seeing the most of our conversions come through.
Yeah. How about day of week? Do you have that one?
Yeah, I think I have that built out here as well. So that's the same thing as hour of day. We come into the custom report section, and there's a dimension here for day of week. So they have all sorts of awesome dimensions in here that you can use. But I definitely use the hour of day, day of week pretty regularly for advertising, because those are some quick and easy levers we can pull to get better results. So sessions, it looks like I would say for most of what we see to B2B businesses, the weekdays are driving more sessions on average. It looks like 3, which would be Tuesday, drives the most majority of our traffic here. And if we switch this again to goal conversion rate, we'll see that our goal conversion rate probably drops off slightly on the weekend here. There's Google Analytics being a little finicky. Give that another go. There we go. So for whatever reason, over the last 3 months, it looks like our goal conversion rate peaks up around on Thursdays for some reason. But you can see how, the weekdays, Sunday here being 0, is below 1%. Saturday, well below 1% at 6.6%, whereas most of the weekdays here are up over 1%. So based on these two reports, we would want to tailor a lot of our email messaging, our Facebook postings, our Google ads, really to the weekdays, in between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. with maybe a little bit of a heavier bid or focus on around lunchtime and on Thursdays. For whatever reason, Thursdays are driving better results. In goal conversions, you don't even have to really go into the custom reporting. Google Analytics has a ton of great reports in here that you can leverage as well. Here's the device overview report. We can see that, and this is a little skewed because our call tracking system does feed calls into Google Analytics as desktop devices, which doesn't make any sense. But, we can see here, let's say we weren't using call tracking, for instance, we could see that, a majority of our goal completions over the last 3 months are coming from desktop devices. So again, we might want to, pivot our messaging on Google Ads to focus more to desktop devices than mobile devices and tablets. But we can see, the amount of sessions that we're getting. Interestingly enough, it does look like we're getting more desktop sessions than mobile sessions by a pretty significant margin, which, for the most part, I would say a lot of our clients see a pretty even split between desktop and mobile. So that's definitely something interesting. A good insight here is that definitely a lot of people that we are on our site are on desktop devices. And going down the list here as well, we can look at goal completions by state. So we can see that majority of our goal completions come in from Vermont here, California number 2, reaching out to the West Coast as well, New York, Massachusetts. But most of the businesses we work with are New England focused. Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, upstate New York. So that definitely makes the most sense, I would say, on a lot of these kind of reports that we're looking at. But, making sure that you have consistent goal tracking just really allows you more data points, whereas, we have our data column here for goal conversion rate and goal completions, which we can use for reporting and measurement, which we otherwise wouldn't have if our goal tracking was not set up or was murky or muddy or inconsistent. So that's kind of the scratching the surface on goal tracking and reporting in Google Analytics.
Yeah, and I'll just close. I know I've may try to take over the presenting here.
Yeah.
Real quick. Present now. A window. So I'm going to share. I've shared a pyramid already. I think with Randy, we were talking about a funnel, and here's kind of another one is this idea of data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. So, Google Analytics, you install it and you right out the box have data being collected. So yesterday was kind of the just install it, start collecting data, and you can always do something with that data down the road. Google Analytics by default has a lot of kind of information that it can provide to you. So it can tell you a lot of stuff just right out of the box, where people are coming from, where they're looking at on your website, how long are they staying, are they bouncing? And then, what we're really kind of talking about today is knowledge. So taking the information that we have that we're collecting through Google Analytics and through the, through a greater understanding of your business's objectives, price points. So, the knowledge level is trying to use the information to strategically achieve one's directives or objectives. So this is kind of the basic, I guess everything comes down to a funnel or a pyramid on some level, but this is a kind of simplistic way to just be thinking about it is, data, information, and today it's about knowledge. And then over time, you kind of start to develop the wisdom to make these decisions long-term and consistently once you can start to understand seasonal cycles and what the data and information knowledge really mean on the screen. So yeah, you got anything else?
No, I would say, definitely, I think you sell us as a lot as a nuts and bolts agency. And goal tracking, I would say, is definitely one of our specialties in digital marketing. It's definitely one of my, one of the areas of digital marketing that I enjoy the most because it's kind of, a big puzzle and trying to figure things out. But Google Analytics has a ton of great documentation on goal tracking, enhanced e-commerce setup. So again, I think I've said this at like the end of every one I've been on, but check out Google support articles, Google support documentation if you have any questions, and definitely reach out to us if there's anything that we can help you out with.
Yeah, there's so many free resources. It's crazy. So
yeah,
you can definitely poke around, and you can't break anything in Google Analytics once it's set up. So it's one of those places that you can definitely dive in without having to worry about screwing something up. So we'd encourage you to do so.
Yeah, unless you're messing with filters or the tracking code, you're pretty much in the clear.
Right. All right, Scott. Well, thank you. I guess I'm going to try to do the outro properly today, and we'll see you here again. Well, let me do what's the next one? Bytes.
I'm not sure what we have on the schedule tomorrow.
For tomorrow. Looks like tomorrow is Facebook posts and why no one sees them. Seth.
That is true.
So maybe a bit of a pessimistic spin to it, but we'll be talking about that with Seth. Seth's our digital marketing manager. So thanks, Scott, and we'll do the outro. And everyone at home, tune in tomorrow. Talk to you soon.
See you guys later.
Your website could be better, let's make it right. Together with Bytes with Bytes.